Welcome back to the Movie Review Teacher. I apologize in advance if you hear the wind in the background. It has been a weird Friday in terms of weather here in Indiana, but we are here reviewing the newest release, Undertone. Now, going into this, I'm just going to say this now. There will be spoilers. This is a movie where you kind of have to talk about specific things, and that is going to lead you to why my feelings are the way they are. So if you don't like spoilers, you don't want spoilers, you may want to tune out now. But going into this movie, we have a girl named Evie that is a podcast host with one of her friends, and they are exploring paranormal activity. They have viewers that send in clips of different things, and they are going to break it down. Now, what you really have on this podcast is you see the personalities. They're playing the character. Think of any podcast you listen to in 2026. That is the vibe you are getting, but it's supposed to be put into a horror movie. Now, if you look at the title of the poster or on the poster, it is going to say the scariest thing you've heard. I believe that's the exact quote, something like that. But I have to say this movie is far from that, and it is a disappointment. Now, as you look at this movie, it really centers around two key storylines. Number one, Evie's mom is sick. She is there taking care of her while still doing this podcast. And on the other hand, she finds out she is pregnant. Her being pregnant is the centerpiece of this storyline because the clips that they are focusing on for an hour and a half revolve around mothers, expecting mothers, and what has happened to them based on these spirits. Now, what I really thought about this movie was it was an interesting premise because you were bringing in the more modern style to the screen in a horror style, but it ultimately falls flat. Now let's get into the scariest thing you've ever heard. If you like children's songs, you like music in general, you at one point have played the music back and you listen to Are There Hidden Messages? I remember being in middle school and a freshman in high school, staying the night at friends' houses, and we used to listen to the Beatles. I believe it was Revolution 9, where you would play it backwards and it would say something like, "Turn me on, dead man." I still remember that. That is what we have a lot of this movie about because it is focusing on the hidden messages that Evie has experienced in her life based on the songs that her mother has played. But let's get into that because I think that is an aspect of this movie where it becomes a little bit confusing. The mother is literally laying in bed the entire time. Evie is freaked out. She is freaking herself out. And so when you look at this movie from a horror movie perspective, a lot of it is shot in a way where you expect something to happen. Unfortunately, when you look at it from that perspective, it does not happen. So for me, the way that this movie is shot is a movie, I believe it was last year, Presence, because it was almost like a first-person style shot where you have the camera angles going one way. And I will say, it was shot well. You were expecting something. That anticipation was there. But unfortunately, the anticipation slowly fades away as you realize nothing is going to happen in the movie. And so unfortunately, all of those good shots that you are seeing that you're going to prepare yourself for, okay, here we go, nothing happens. But let's get back to the podcast because that's the big piece of this movie. They're listening to a clip of a couple that are trying to figure out what is going on. A husband believes his wife is talking in her sleep. They begin recording it. And ultimately, that is what this plays out during this movie. You have a 10-clip episode type thing where they're trying to break down each clip, find hidden messages, find the overall point of them. But then they get to number 10. So again, if you have been here this long and you knew that there were going to be spoilers, now is where even more spoilers are going to come in because what we find out is that clip number 10 is the key to everything. Once we reach clip number 10, the spirit that is in the original 9 episodes or 9 parts of this with the husband and wife are now going to come into fray with Evie. She is now going to experience what is going on, these weird possessions, the writings on the wall, the lights breaking, and that is where you see this actually come to light. This did not happen until about the last 15 to 18 minutes of this movie. So while you're anticipating all of these things to come out, they don't come out. You're sitting there hoping they are, but you don't find any interest there. And ultimately, I think the ending of this movie is one of the worst endings that I have ever seen in a movie. Not just a horror movie, but a movie in general. Because it goes black, you see what and listen to the sounds of what they want you to hear, and then it goes straight to the credits. And so when you're anticipating all this time of what this spirit is going to do, how is this movie going to be scary, it ultimately reaches the breaking point where when you get to the end, you just kind of say, huh, all right. And that is what it is. This is a streaming service movie. This is a movie that you should wait to see until it gets on a streaming service. Now, as far as rating, I am critical of this because I think this movie was bad. I think it is one of the worst movies I will see in 2026, and I ultimately think this is one of the worst horror movies that I have seen. For me, this is a 1 out of 5. I feel like the direction was there, but the overall delivery of that story just falls flat. You spend an hour and a half trying to figure out what's going to happen. You think you have an idea, but ultimately nothing ends up there until about the last 15 to 18 minutes. So for me, when it comes to this movie, it is a 1 out of 5. I would wait to see it until it comes out on streaming. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the continued support. Make sure to stay tuned for more videos. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button. Go follow me on all the social media pages. Stay tuned for more reviews coming this weekend. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, and I will talk to you all later.